about that, what you learned, and so you're going to have that opportunity, and that counts as your pitch. Does that make sense? And those of you that are ready to actually move forward with your project, you guys will create the slide deck that we're going to focus on next session, session 5. Session 5 is all about really getting you prepared to present. And again, it's not so much a competition with each other, because you guys are actually like allies for each other. I really hope you think like that. We're in this together. It's about you just doing the best that you can for yourself and knowing that you're brave and awesome for doing it, and it's going to be a really valuable, awesome growth experience. That being said, let's talk about today. So you guys know what session 5 is, right? It's going to be working on really honing in on getting your slide deck and your presentation really nice. Also, after session 5, between session 5 and the final pitch, you guys can make an appointment with Yvonne and me. I don't know if James he's probably going to be busy.
I'll be around.
Okay, oh good. So with us, and you can literally work with us and we will coach you. We did it last year and it made an enormous difference with the teams. Like they just transformed. So you'll get these personal coachings where you'll come in here and we'll evaluate and we'll say, this was amazing, this doesn't make sense. I would emphasize this is how you can differentiate yourself. And even talk about presentation things. Does that sound good? So you're going to get a lot of support. There's a lot of opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question that's probably been written down and mentioned, but
no problem.
I forget. So, how long is our actual pitch time at the final pitch? How long do we have?
You have 3 minutes to pitch.
Right, and then to answer.
And then it's going to be 5 minutes to answer, and then 2 minutes for transition. Which means, if you think about the fact that we have 3 hours. This is really tight.
Okay. I think we had 2 hours. It was 1 to 3 last year, and it's the same thing.
Oh, 1 to 3 again?
Yeah, it's tight.
So now we're very tight.
Yeah, so it's tight. We're probably going to have 10 teams. I'm just like to guesstimate who's going to be ready. So if you take 10 teams, each that have 3 minutes, to present, and then 5 minutes to answer questions, and that's 8 times.
Yeah, and then depending on how many teams we end up having, that number can change. Not the first number. The first number, you have 3 minutes. That's it.
Last year they had 4 minutes, and that was plenty of time to go through an impressive. Just to give you context, we have. The nice thing is this is the second year of doing this, not the first year. So the first year we were I hope this works, right? So that was really stressful, and it didn't work great. And we gave them 4 minutes, and that was more than enough time for them, because you guys basically have solid and thorough 10, it's like a 10 slide deck, which just is 10 slides on a PowerPoint. Slide deck is just the universal term for PowerPoint, right? Kind of like a tissue is the universal term for Kleenex, which is a specific company, right? Just so you guys all know what a slide deck is.
And we gave them, last year we gave them 4 minutes, and we went over by 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Which would be why you're down 3 minutes.
So that's why you're going to rehearse, and you're going to time yourselves, and it's a great opportunity for you to be able to say something concisely. Today, basically this is what's going to happen. James and I are condensing weeks of material, both of us, and our specialty areas into, James is going to condense weeks worth of knowledge and basically all the stuff from his sales experience and entrepreneurship, listening to the 3 sessions that you guys have been exposed to, and he's crystallized it into this presentation. So give him a lot of support for that. And then I'm going to take my professional public speaking training, and I'm going to work with you guys in a very condensed format. Usually I do this professionally for 9 hours, so 3 3-hour sessions with people. I'm going to try and do it with you guys in about 40 minutes, so get you on your feet, but really help you learn from professional acting strategies and from entrepreneurship presentations and all that kind of stuff to help you be as confident and as comfortable as you can in front of people. And so I think there's going to be something really valuable, but it's also going to have to take courage on your part, right? And we're in this together, so give us a lot of support, because we are doing everything we can, pouring knowledge into you so that you can be successful. And even for those of you that are not going to do the final pitch, you're going to get something out of this, and it goes into not just pitching, it goes into almost every avenue of interpersonal relationships. It's about how to authentically present yourself. So we're super excited. Are there any questions about that? About what you're going to do today? about the pitch competition, what you're going to do on March 30th? No? Yeah?
Are they going to be looking for like initial traction? Like my impression of a lot of, no? Okay.
No.
So just like idea and
They know that this is a learning experience. Great question. They know this is a learning experience, so they're not going to look for like, okay, how far along are you? Are you thinking of manufacturing stage or whatever?
That's why we don't have any mainstream VCs. Like Techstars is mainstream, but they are a mainstream seed company. So the reason why we don't have any like later stage VC people is because the reality is maybe one business in here is an institutional VC company. And so it would be like, and that's very dependent on a lot of different things, which I'll go over at the end of this. But the reality is we picked people that we thought would add value to this group. People who are either building businesses right now or building incubators like this one, which she's going to come in here and be like, wow, that looks a lot like our program because I did base this on their program.
And there's a reason he based it on Techstars, because it's one of the biggest and most successful incubator programs in the entire country.
Yeah, so, yeah, they're not, you don't need to have traction, you don't need to have anything, but well, you do need to have things, but what I'm going to show you towards the end of this, so it's not just a PowerPoint, we're going to have, there are a lot of spreadsheets and stuff we're going to go through, and it's going to be confusing, but we can talk through more of it after. But the reality is, this session, my part is going to be built to give you what you need to be able to walk in there and say, for my business to succeed, I need X dollars, and I will get X out of that. Basically, if you give me $10,000, I will get $50,000 in revenue. You give me $100,000, I will give you $5 million in revenue, whatever it ends up being. If any of you have a $100,000 to $5 million revenue business, like, that's amazing. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to kick Carl out of here. Get out. All right, how did everybody feel about that?
Really good. Yeah. That was great. Yeah.
Like that felt fun?
Yeah.
Like selling is fun, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're not selling. Like it's just fun. So awesome. When you leave here, go practice that on people. Like just random people. Maybe you want to preface that with them first. But just go out and try and practice that. When you're just talking to somebody in your life. Could be about anything, does not need to be about your business. Just practice that technique when you're talking to random people if you have a function, if you're going to a party, use that for small talk.
I had a tough time getting into like a rhythm, like what would be your approach or your best practice for approaching that conversation? Like what's the starting point? What do you say? You come in with a question immediately?
Yeah. Like
you get questions, but is there an overarching question that starts it, or is it just?
How many conversations have you started with "How's the weather today" in your life?
A lot, but it's like that's like a shitty conversation.
Is it?
Sometimes it's like you're just saying that because it's the easy thing to say.
Right. It's the easy thing to start a conversation. Number one thing, ask questions and then don't talk.
I just wanted to point out what I felt was helpful for myself was just being curious about what you really want to learn, and then because people like to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
So if you're curious, they're going to give you what you want to hear. So
Exactly. Like there are two key defining traits for every single person in this room, every single person on this campus, every single person in this world. You're uncomfortable with silence in a conversation, and you like talking about yourself to a person. If you ask questions, you're genuinely curious, and you're okay sitting there in silence for 10 seconds, trust me, the other person will answer, and they will answer at length. Maybe not a weather question, because the weather is, again, you are correct. That is a terrible way to start a conversation. If you have no other questions to ask, do that. The key is getting traction. Same thing with your business, where you need to get 1, 2 customers. You need to get that first 100 customers. In a conversation, Think about it that way. You need to build traction.
Unless the weather really is like doing something interesting.
Yeah,
No, seriously. Like,
not today.
Great
right.
storm.
Not today, but when it was hailing the other day, people, that was like, I was talking to strangers about it. People on the street were like, this weather's insane, huh? And so
Yeah.
I just want to point it out. It's not the actual specificity of the question, how about that weather? It's the context.
Yeah, you.
Selling umbrellas.
Yeah, but it's also like, how do you approach conversations when you're going to talk to a random stranger? Your shoulders are up tight, right? Your shoulders are up tight. You're feeling a little stressed out. They are too. Nobody likes that. So when you're in that conversation, the whole goal is to get them to relax and to feel relaxed yourself. So that's the point of the traction. That's the point of stupid small talk opening questions. That's it. Your only goal is to get to the next question. And then from there, just build a genuine conversation out of your own curiosity. Like, I want to learn more about people, so I'm going to ask them questions to learn more about them. I've had sales conversations where we never talked about the business that ended up with the exact thing that I wanted from the business just because we started talking about, generally it's the Eagles, but like, start talking about football, end up talking about football for 30 minutes, and then at the end of it, they go, okay, are we doing this thing or what? Again, they buy because of trust. They don't buy because of what you're selling. You had a question?
No, you answered my
Okay. All right. Now begins the fun part. So I'm going to send you all of this. I'm going to send all of you this, and I'm sorry I'm not standing, but going through spreadsheets while standing is a nightmare. So we've talked about starting your business. We've talked about kind of what your messaging is, all of that. The next thing we need to talk about are the finances, which I know are the least sexy part of doing a business, starting a business. So I'm going to send you all of this. In case you're wondering, yes, these are the templates that are given to you in Google Sheets. Like, the templates they have are great. Use them. They automatically calculate everything for you. You can go through, put all of your customer acquisition. What I would do with this section here is, if you're, instead of just doing advertising, I would say Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, break that out by channel. So then you can see how each one is performing and establish your KPIs based on that.
What's KPI?
key performance indicator.
Yep. So your number one goal at this point, other than learning how to sell your business and getting ready to pitch it, and like structuring how you're going to get this thing started, is actually figuring out how you're going to get this thing started. And that costs money. So, yeah?
You talked about having 5 company-wide KPIs. Can you elaborate on those 5?
They're different for every single business. So for an outreach organization, so for an enterprise sales organization, somebody who is going out and selling to businesses, a good KPI that I've used throughout my career is interested to close rate. So the moment somebody says, I would like to learn more, what percentage of those people end up being customers? No. Average is about 24. On an enterprise sale, cold outreach to close ends up being, for a lot of companies, it's around 1.5 to 2%, but it can be as low as 0.5% if you have a very, like, I was working with a medical device company that was selling a $400,000 device. They had a lead to close rate of about 0.27%.
Do you know of a good resource where we can, where we can find out what those averages are for different industries, different types of KPIs, like what, like, you know, you can Google it, of course.
Yeah.
But, like, then you got to know it down.
Or do we
Legitimate.
just take, or do we take 100 people and work out Interested to close, called out to
So the way I would start out is I would go shoot for 225. So 2% lead to close. That's where I would start like as my baseline goal. And in some industries it'll be 5%, some industries it'll be 0.5%, like low-end consumer electronics. You're looking at probably 5 to 10%. So like the water bottle company or the water, yeah, that is going to be 15%, 20%, maybe. But it's all dependent on who you're reaching out to and why. And if you have a good where you're making like $3 on margin, does everybody know what I mean by that, margin? Okay, if you're making $3 on margin, then you probably honestly shouldn't be doing email outreach unless it's for partnerships. Because the cost of you, if you're paying yourself, let's say $40 an hour, it works out to around $80,000 a year if you're working full time. If you're paying yourself that, the cost of you spending 5 minutes to send that email, it's almost more than you're going to make on the product.
So you're talking about one-to-one?
Yeah, one-to-one email.
Wouldn't make sense.
If you're bulk emailing, if you're sending out email blasts, that you're going to get a lot lower conversion rate on that because most of those people hopefully will already be customers. Especially if you're on a low margin product. If you're on a high margin product, i.e. something where you're selling it for $10,000 and you make $6,000 on margin, you have a lot more leeway to do random crazy things. Like for a company I'm working with, you have $5,000 on margin. Guess what? I can spend $1,000 to get a customer and still make money. But not every business is going to be able to do that. So figuring out what that means for you, that's why those KPIs are so important. So when you talk about organizational KPIs, customer acquisition cost is probably the most important one. Just take the number of dollars you spend to acquire all of your customers that you spend on marketing in total against the amount of revenue you're making. Or the number of customers you have. How much does it cost for you to acquire a unique customer? If that's over 40% of your margin, I would start thinking about cutting some of your less efficient channels.
Even if it's just time, which isn't actually quantified to a monetary value.
Time is always quantified.
Right, but like in this, as of now, if we're just trying to acquire, let's say, from 100 we're going to 500, but I take time to send out an email, make a couple phone calls, then how do I put that down as monetary value?
So if you're taking time, you need to account for your own time because eventually you're either going to do it or you're going to have to pay someone to do it. You cannot write yourself off as a zero expense, especially if you're thinking, because what ends up happening is your business is successful and then you realize it was because you weren't paying yourself, which then you can never pay yourself. So start accounting for that at day one. And then when you go talk, if you end up going and talking to VCs, you end up going and talking to somebody, you can of course then take that out because that's not like a real expense and then when they inevitably ask the question, okay, but what happens once you start paying yourself? You can then come back with your number that you already calculated. But never anticipate that you are zero cost. Because otherwise you end up on the wrong side of the business. For example, there's a pretty good case study around a pet store in Morristown, New Jersey. I don't know why somebody wrote this case study, but I like it. So the pet store was the front end of this building. And the guy leased out the back end as an apartment. Business was making money for years. Finally, he was like, you know what? I'm going to expand, kicked his tenants out, expanded into the back. All of a sudden, started losing money. Why was he losing money now?
Because it was the rent that was making money the whole time.
Yeah. So, like, make sure you are taking care, like, you know where your dollars are going. And that's why sheets like this are important. Literally, no matter how small and how stupid you think the cost is, if you need to go get a carrot juice once a week, every week, to feel alive, and that's something you're expensing against the business because the business is stressing you out so much that you need to go get that carrot juice, account for it. You don't need to make it its own line item. Put it into a marketing budget. Put it in meals and entertainment. It doesn't matter. Account for it. Don't fudge numbers. Like, put it in its right category. If it's an incidental, put it in incidentals. If it's advertising, customer acquisition, put it in customer acquisition. Because then again, you get down the road, realize that most of your advertising budget, your customer acquisition cost was actually spent on you flying on private jets or whatever you end up doing. Like, that's a waste of time and money. So, walking through this, you have 3 different sections. Income, expenses, and summary. It's super simple. And it's all 1 year. So, put out, this is built around a consulting business. Put in every line item of what you plan to sell, all of your incoming revenue, wherever that comes from. If it's donations based, put in your donations. If it's, this is important to track every single potential dollar going in, every single potential dollar going out. And then at the end of the day, you're going to get a sheet like this. It's super simple. So this is what happens once you've launched. Like, this is not what we're going to use to predict what's going to happen. What we're going to use to predict is this. So this is from a company called score.org. And they made this, I think it was like 2014. They made this. It is a spreadsheet to help you project what your business is going to do once it launches. So, starting point. Put in leasehold improvements. This is if you're going to, like, for you guys, if you get a gym and you're not going to own the property because we're in New York and that's insane. Like, so you're going to be leasing the property. If you put in a shelving unit, say that costs $1,500. That goes in there. If you're going to buy equipment, that goes in here. Do not buy I had a student one time tell me they were getting a $50,000 couch because they wanted their models to sit on something that they enjoyed. Don't do that. But if you're starting a gym, you're going to spend $60,000 on equipment minimum. Furniture and fixtures. What do you say? Another $1,500? Probably more. What do you think you'd spend? 5,000? Are you going to have a vehicle? And is this equipment number right? What do you think you're going to spend on equipment? What do you think?
Because if it's a gym, then there are so many other equipment, so 60,000.
Okay.
Even if I took 10 equipments and each cost me 10 grand, so that's 100 grand right there.
Yeah.
So you want to say 120,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
And what do you think you're going to, what do you think the total cost of your lease improvements are going to be?
Lease improvements,
Yeah.
total cost, I'd multiply that by like 20,
So
30 grand.
Are you going to have a vehicle? Any other expenses?
Yeah, like miscellaneous
10 grand? All right. Are you going to have any pre-opening salaries and wages? No, that's,
No, that's
yeah,
that'd be us.
that's you.
That'd be us.
Yeah.
So even if it's say $20 an hour, $40 a week, into 3.
Yeah. So 120 a week?
That's, but a year that would be close to
Hmm.
what?
Hold on.
Almost.
Wait, are you doing $120 an hour?
No, 20.
Oh, $20 an hour.
That's like
Oh, okay.
45,
Then that's,
40 grand a year.
40 grand a year.
yeah. So then you're,
That's just pre.
why is my brain not 120,
Just do 150 across the board, 50 each,
50?
Okay, so 150 into.
All right, so let's just say $50,000. Because the prepaid insurance premiums, you might not know, but we can estimate probably $15,000. Inventory, you don't have any inventory because you don't have any costs.
legal fees, probably.
So you're going to have $1,500 for incorporation. You're going to have probably another, you're going to be like 15, 20,000. So does this make sense for everybody? Like, this is what you do. This is the process when you're going through and filling this out. And like, you can go through, and so as you see here, we're already up to $245,000. So going line item by line item here is a great way to make sure. And then make sure you track your equity. So, is everybody familiar with how equity works when you're in a company? So you have 100%, right? You take 100% of your own company, you sell around to an investor for 20% of your company. How much of your company do you now own?
80%.
No.
No, fine, from a fine. Equity, you still own a lot, 100% equity or no?
No.
Wait, you sold 20% of your company?
So if your company's worth $1 million,
Yeah.
you get an investor to invest to the tune of, or like say the value is $200,000 on that $1 million. You still have,
75% of the company.
well, no, it's you have 1 million out of 1.2 now, instead of 1 million out of $1 million.
Yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
bigger, it's just a bigger.
The pot keeps growing because it's out of dollars, it's not off of a percent. You're gonna talk to investors as a percent, and that's called pre-dollar value.
Okay.
So how much do you still own and how much do you still own in equity?
100%.
No, no.
It depends on the loan you take.
Right, so it depends. And then there are different forms that can take where you can have, there are different types of notes, there are different types, all of that. And that is something that unfortunately we do not have time for today, but I'm happy to talk through. Actually, I'll build 20 minutes into next time, we can go over all the different types of notes. But the reality is, every time you take money in, and this is something I cannot say seriously enough, the moment you take money, you no longer own your business. It doesn't matter what percentage of your business you sell away. The moment you take money, you do not own the future of your business. Because then you have somebody you are beholden to, contractually obligated to deliver something to. So if somebody gives you $100 million for your business and takes 30% of your business, that person is then expecting a return off of that, which means every single day you need to go to them and say, this is what I'm doing with your money. This is how I'm improving my business for you. So when you think about that, it's always think about it in terms of dollars, number one. So like owner's equity, you have dole out, like I normally start with 100,000 shares of a company. Just say each one is worth 10 cents. You as founders, if you're serious about going out and raising money, the moment that happens,
file for a Delaware C Corp, and each of you write a check to the company for the number of shares you own multiplied by how much whatever they're worth. You are the board. You need to write that check in, or else your company is not operating legally. I can find, if anybody needs, I know a bunch of lawyers who help with this kind of stuff. I can connect you to them. But the reality is, if you're going this route, it's a very, very serious route. And that's one of the reasons why our speaker last time was so against it. Because the moment you take money, and it doesn't matter how much it is, you no longer own the future of your company. You are the CEO, you are the people that run it. If you succeed and you exit, you're going to make a bunch of money, great. But the reality is you're beholden to somebody else. And this is not meant to scare you. Because again, there are tons of different ways to be successful with owning a business. If you start like we had talked about, where you're going to other people's gyms and kind of bootstrapping that until you can actually afford to start your own, that is an amazing way to start that business. And then if you can bootstrap without taking money, that is the absolute best way to start a business on a low-key level. Then the thing that you need to learn to recognize is that moment where the competition notices you. And the moment you realize you have competitors that are looking at taking money, go raise money, because what they're going to do is they're going to try to hypergrowth you.
But it's the same thing better.
Yeah, but doing the same thing, but you're bootstrapping at $2 million a year. They have $150 million to spend on what you do, and all of a sudden they're in every single city in the country, and you're still trying to bootstrap this one city. The reality is starting slow is better, because you end up with more ability to refocus, shift. Because the reality is, the moment you take VC money, they do expect 80% of the businesses they fund to fail. And they want 80% of the businesses they fund to fail. Like in a perfect world, 100% of them would succeed. But if you're not going to be a wild success, they want you to fail. So after that sobering moment, seriously, it's an incredible road, and it is a ton of fun. And there is so much opportunity there. But the reality is that taking money is tough. Like, once you get past friends and family round, it's tough. Friends and family round, great thing, do it. Be slightly careful about the family side. But, and if you can find wealthy people that'll back you, that's also great. Anybody have any questions on that? Anybody bummed out by that?
In I'm sorry, I'm still kind of stuck. I'm trying to understand it. In layman's terms, if I own 100% of the company when I file, and I get an investor that is going to invest.
Here we go. You have 100,000 shares. So you have 100,000 shares. Let's just say they're worth $10 a piece, right? You go to an investor and you say, all right, I want you to buy 200,000 shares. Or did I write a million there? I did. All right, that's fine. Now we're gonna sell the investor 2 million shares. Or no, we want 200,000. I'm doing this all. All right. Yep. Oh, because I did that times 10. All right, cool. So I was right. First time. All right, now, if I take, so your pre-money value, you were worth, yeah. So, you own 83% of your company. Now you go out after this and you say, okay, I want to sell another, let's say you're going to raise $100 million off of this. It's so hard to see this. At a, is that? And then that's off of times 100. And then you're taking this times 10. Because all those shares were worth $10, right? So you've multiplied your money times 10, but it's like your money continues to get diluted, basically. Yeah. At the end of the day, what ends up happening is every time you go out and raise $1, you're both increasing the value of your company, but decreasing the percentage of shares that you own. Because you're diluting yourself out, and you're diluting all your previous investors out.
But the value of your company is hiking up,
Yep.
hiking up.
So every
dollar per share is hiking up, hiking
Yeah.
up. So you are making more money, or you're worth more money.
But not
the
all of that
percentage
is
of your
entitled
equity
to you.
is not.
yeah, and it's all on paper.
Not
Yeah, all
entitled
of
to
it.
you.
Yeah.
No, exactly. It's just whatever percentage you own of those shares is
It's
entitled
the-
to you,
yeah.
and whatever the value of that dollar per share is.
Yeah.
Is that
And
makes
the
sense?
majority of it is not.
Yep.
No, the majority of it is still.
So, yeah, so here you go. You're selling roughly 40% of your company here, which means you no longer own your company at all. Like you've gone from the majority shareholder to the secondary shareholder with this most recent raise, just because you've diluted yourself out. Again, we will go over all of this next time. But the reality is this is what you need to go through when you're thinking about fundraising.
Does it work the same way for nonprofits, NGOs?
No,
I didn't think
not at all.
I didn't think so.
Yeah. You have, for nonprofit NGOs, if you're raising under, it depends, are you going to be like a B Corp?
Still trying to figure that out.
Okay. Yeah.
501c3, 501c4, B Corp, there are a bunch of options.
So it's all dependent on how you structure that.
That's what we're still trying to figure out.
Yeah. So, yeah, basically. That it changes depending, that is a wildly different thing. Largely because you can't go to an investor and say, all right, I'm going to return 100% to you because you're a nonprofit. And that's the definition of profit.
Can I come talk to you about this in more detail?
Yes, absolutely. Anybody, literally anyone can come talk to me about this in more detail outside of class because we are losing the thread. All right. So, moving to the next stage. So basically this sheet, what I want you to do is I want all of you to go through this entire sheet and fill out all of this. I know it looks like a lot. There are like 20 spreadsheets here. But the reality is you only have to put in numbers in the first 5. And so it's basically going to be how many employees do you have? So this is where you account for your time. So you have 3 owners. You're going to be paying yourself $20 an hour. And you'll be working 40 hours a week. And it measures all that out. Full-time employees, you have 0. Social Security wages, all of that. Sheet immediately calculates everything. Payroll year 2 and 3. It measures it out for you. And you can change the growth rate.
So that's pulling from that page we just input.
Yep. Then we come here, you put in your COGS, margin, and it calculates everything for you. And then you can say your unit sold here. This is the only part you need to put in here. And then it'll automatically calculate for your sales forecast, any additional inputs, operational expenses. This is where you put in your projection for what all those things were that we just discussed. So like, what do you think all of this stuff is going to cost you over that period? It then calculates all of that out. And then any additional inventory you have, if you plan to take money out of your company once you actually make money, and this will then project out your cash flow going out really as long as you want. And it'll do your balance sheet for you and do a break-even analysis. So this is what you really should have in place. Like, this is why you should know when your business can make money, because this is how simple it is. I know this is a lot, there are a lot of spreadsheets here, but this is how easy it is to actually go through and figure out how your business is going to make money. Does this make sense to everyone? Cool. So, they're going to come to you almost immediately after class. Yeah.
James, do I need to know this to get ready for the pitch competition slide deck?
Yes. Because one of the things, when you're talking about your, I can actually stand now because, I'll go through that in a minute. One of the things you're going to have in your slide deck are your financials.
20-minute warning.
I know. I was just looking at a clock. It's on the computer. So, one of the things you need to have in your slide deck are your financials. Both your projections on kind of the revenue you expect to make, all of that. It's a very important part. You don't want to go into too much detail, but you do want to be able to say when you plan to break even. If you go through this and you're projected to break even within the first 2 years, go back and redo your numbers. It's going to take you a minimum of 3 years to break even. Doesn't really matter what industry you're in. Should take you a minimum of 3 years. You're either not being aggressive enough or you're going too aggressive in terms of your revenue projections. So that's just in general on that side. But the flow of your deck is going to be all those things we talked about to start out with. What is your idea? Who's building it? Why are you building it? What does the market look like for it? And that's where you go in and you say, and you go through those people you interviewed. And you say, okay, these are the problems I'm solving. Then you figure out how many of those people can you sell to, those first 100 customers? How many of them can you sell to in the first X period? Okay, that means in the first 6 months, I plan to make $20,000 because that number of customers multiplied by my cost, my revenue per unit. Then you can project that out at a growth rate, say 5-10% a year. The moment you take money, though, by the way, just to go back to that whole depressing conversation, they expect you to triple, double your numbers, i.e., if you come to them and you're making $2 million a year, they expect the next year you're going to be making $6 million. The year after that, you're going to be making 18. The year after that, you're going to be making 36. So that's the expectation on VC. They expect within 5 years for you to, exactly. Although that rarely happens, but the reality is that's the expectation. And if you go to somebody like a Techstars, that's what they do. That's their entire thing. They help you get there, but the reality is a lot of these fundamentals are going to be really helpful in you doing that yourself without actually needing that kind of outside investment. So the other really, really key component to all of this is this guy. you need a CRM. Anybody used one of these before? Yeah. Yeah. It's like undescribably important. Like it is the most crucial part of you running your business.
What does CRM stand for?
Customer.
Relationship manager.
Awesome. I didn't have to answer. All right. Oh, it also says it right there. So, whether you're doing PR, whether you're doing paid placements, whether you're doing influencer marketing, whether you're doing whatever you're doing, a CRM is crucial. It's where you put every single, so those 100 contacts that you guys have now, your 100 customers, you put them here. If you're reaching out to companies, you put them here. You list what their contact type is, all of their information. Then, as you start to look up those opportunities, you can start putting in, are they qualified? Where are you in the sales cycle? What's your next step? Then you can start predicting time to close. And that's one of those KPIs for sales, where it's like, what is your sales cycle? How long is it? So when you asked, how do I know the sales cycle for partnerships? Because I've been doing it for 10 years. And I know what my sales cycle is for launching partnerships. So this is a way for you to say, okay, I have 3 deals worth $5,000 a piece I expect to close next month. I have 1 deal worth $120,000 I expect to close in 6 months. That means I can expect this sort of revenue over the coming months from those deals. Enables you to project out your pipeline, which is a thing you will be asked about in every single investor meeting you go to, which is, what does your pipeline look like? What does your pipeline of new business look like? And that's what this tells you. That's this overly large number on this first page. New opportunities by stage. And don't get me wrong, this is not a great CRM, but it is a free CRM.
What do you mean by pipeline? Does it use the same word in the initial contact spreadsheet? So I thought they were synonymous with the name.
So pipeline is another one of those things like funnel, where it's you have think about it like a river, but the river is made of money in this case. The moment that water starts flowing, you need to know how much water is coming in 2 minutes, how much is coming in 20, how much is coming in an hour. And that's why you call it a pipeline, which is like how much water is flowing through the pipe. And that can apply to sales. It can apply to contacts. It can apply to partnerships. It can apply to literally any part of your business. But the reality is, knowing that is super important. Like knowing what's going to happen in the future of your business is really important. Because that means when those investors come to you and they say, how are we doing versus our projections? You can say, actually, we're a little short on our pipeline for this last month, but next month is looking X% better.
It's basically your cash flow.
No. So it's your opportunity. So it's the opportunity of business. So if you have a 10% chance of closing $20 million worth of business, in your pipeline, you can say that's worth $2 million.
Say it one more time.
If you have a 10% chance of closing $20 million in business, in your pipeline, it's $2 million. So when you say, what's your total pipeline? You can then go, okay, I have a 5% chance of closing $30,000 in business. I have 90% chance of closing $100,000 in business. And then add all of those up together, and that's your total pipeline. Now, if they ask you, what's your pipeline look like in 3 months? You can then go and say, okay, my sales cycle for these opportunities is around this. I can prospect 100 new opportunities per month. My average close rate is this. And then it's just multiplying your KPIs versus the lead you're bringing in. And that way, if you have those KPIs and they are right, you can then, anytime someone asks you a question, it's just math in your head where you're just sitting there going, I can do this in a month. My sales team can do X. I multiply X times my outreach to interested rate. I will have this many interested people. That'll be worth to me Y in 3 months. Then I also have my interested to close rate, which means that those people are worth Z. Yeah. And then always, when you're talking to people about that, take off 30% of whatever the number is. Under promise, over deliver. Even if you're 100% confident you can deliver a thing, take 30% off. Some make sense? Again, I'm happy to walk through any of this with anyone. I am.
What if right now I'm stressed out because I'm having trouble following what you're saying, and I'm starting to feel disheartened about being prepared for the pitch? What should I do?
Talk to me. Ask me questions. Ask all of us questions. We are here to help you. Literally, I like helping. I'm here. I will be here for 45 minutes after this thing is over, and then we can talk today. Or I'm available. I work, well, a mile and a half away from here, but it's not that hard to get here. So, like, whatever you need, let me know, because this is a lot. This is the meat of business. This is why, and the reality is, if everyone could do this, everyone would. But you guys are great.
The other thing is I wanted to say, guys, it's normal if you're feeling overwhelmed by all of this incredible information James is giving you. James, how long do you normally take to deliver this volume?
Generally, you'd have 5 weeks to absorb this.
Okay, so he's giving you an encapsulation of 5 weeks worth of information. And then we're also going to follow this up with assignments for you. Like, Yvonne does such a great job. She's literally been taking copious notes, then doing research, and then we send that to you to crystallize it. And then you also have us as resources to check in on things for clarification and modulate specifically for you. So I want to say that to any of you that are all feeling stressed out because of all this information, this is literally to give you context. Does that make sense? You can kind of like start to, oh yeah, when James was talking about that, now I get it. All right? I know that how it might be feeling, so I want to give you that support.
Yeah, you guys honestly should feel overwhelmed about all of this. If you don't, congratulations, like that's amazing. But you honestly, like, it's 100% normal. The first time I started diving into this, I didn't sleep for like 3 days because I was sitting there going, oh, what did I do with my life? But it's, once you wrap your head around it, once you actually go through the steps of creating this, of creating your CRM, start mapping out those pipelines and start looking at these numbers in terms of real revenue and in terms of what you can accomplish, you're going to have such a better picture of your business that when people talk to you and they ask you, what are you doing? You can say, I'm going to do this over the next year. And then as long as I can achieve this KPI, I will then have this amount to invest in my business so I can expand out into this section. So whenever you wonder about, you see those investor pitches, you guys watch the Techstars pitches, like whenever you see those guys, and they're sitting there and they have an answer to every single question asked of them and they know 100% what's happening, it's because they went through this and they didn't sleep for 3 nights. But they went through all of this and they know these numbers by heart. We're not asking that you know these numbers by heart, but just go through this, figure out what your KPIs are, and then from there, you can start building out an idea of opportunity. There are questions. Who has questions? Everybody gets this 100%.
What part of this would VCs be interested in for the pitch competition? Like, how would we condense this for the
So they want to know two things. How much money you need, and what's your expected market size. And when we talk about expected market size, I have what, 5 minutes left?
Yep, that's exactly right.
Cool. When we talk about expected market size, all right, why can't I see that? Oh, because I'm like half.
Your expected market size related to the potential of the industry, or is it related to your market cap?
No, market cap has nothing to do with that.
I mean, it's not your
Yeah.
investor pool, your capital.
Nope, no.
Okay.
So market size is basically like, if you were to get 100% of the manufacturing industry, you would have $3.9 trillion in revenue every year. That would be your market size. You're not going to do that. What you can do is you can say, okay, I'm going to approach all of the gym rats in South Brooklyn. What is that worth? From there, you say, okay, what do all, and I hate calling people gym rats, but I'm going to continue with that because whatever. What do all the gym enthusiasts in Prospect Heights, how many people are there? What is that value? So then that would be your beachhead. Say, okay, we're going to open up here. We're going to take 10% of Prospect Heights. That is worth X dollars. From there, we expect in the next 3 years to expand out to all of Brooklyn, or all of South Brooklyn. That is worth Y. 3 years later, with your funding, we expect to raise around in 3 years. We will then be able to triple our reach and be all of New York, which is worth this. At that point, you say a year and a half later, because that's about when they expect you to take around, say, I'm going to raise my Series A. From there, I could expand to this city, this city, this city, and that will be worth. And that's how you do your market size. That's what I mean when I say a bottom-up strategy. And the end goal, your end market, is after, say, 10 years. What do you expect the value of your business to be? And what is the total gym market? Say, in 10 years, my acquirable market is, in 10 years, like a half of 1% of the total gym market in the US. But chances are you're not going to be able to do that, but the reality is that's kind of, and if that number ends up being, because I don't know that market that well, if that number ends up being $20 billion, don't say you're going to make $20 billion in 10 years. But do say, make the number realistic, go through, and whatever your projections end up being, whatever people spend in a given locale, make that realistic. Think about your expectations where it's going to take you 3 years to fully capture a city. And if you start 3 cities at the same time, you can think that's going to take you about 5 years. So if it's going to take you 3 years to capture New York just to start, and then another 5 years to capture the next 3 cities, you're going to be a bit through your next expansion after that before you go. So that's kind of how you do the market sizing. And then here, which we will send you, are all the rounds. So venture rounds is, I put Series A to Z, but if you go past F, I don't know what you're doing. But the reality is, past here is where you get to the scary part of investing. Up to this point, it's bunch of old rich people spending their money. Damn it. Angel investing is generally high wealth, ultra high net worth individuals who like spending their money on random things.
Tax write-offs.
Yeah, like if you go to one of these meetups in New York, which I recommend you do, you're gonna see a bunch of old, generally white guys walking around a room staring at things. And it's weird. It's weird. But that's what angel investing is. It's a bunch of very wealthy people who like to spend their money on interesting projects. And they don't necessarily 100% expect to make a return. So it's a pretty low risk. They expect 96 out of 100 of their startups to fail. But those 4 are each going to earn them $300 million, which is not. Yeah. That's great. I mean, I'm happy with $300 million. I would be if I had it. Friends and family, while that feels really risky, it's probably the easiest round to raise because it's just going to your friends and family and saying, hey, can I get X? And honestly, that's the biggest thing for these people. They want to know that people are behind you, that anyone's behind you, that you have a friend in the world who is like, here's some money. For seed, they want to see a tiny bit of traction. They just want to know that you have your market down. So those numbers that we're talking about in terms of you capturing Prospect Heights, the moment you capture Prospect Heights and you know that you have a good strategy to capture the rest of New York, you could go raise seed funding. And then the moment you've captured New York, you go raise your A round.
James, do you remember when the speaker from last session described the struggles on that stage?
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Yeah, this is really hard. Only 5% of businesses should ever raise a seed round. Think of how many billion-dollar exits exist for the number of businesses that are started. Like, it's 20, 30, and that's what they're expecting. So it's 100,000 businesses started every year. 6 of them are going to end up exiting at a value that's okay for these people. So when it comes to seed investing, just realize that at that moment, you're going into a group of people who are looking at you and saying, okay, you're one of 100 of my businesses. All the advice they give you is just going to be for that $20 billion exit. It's all their advice is going to be. It's either all or nothing.
So if I'm not going to be mega rich with my business, should I just give up?
No, absolutely not. Like, bootstrap. Go find old rich person to give you money. Like, I hate to say it in that kind of colloquial fashion, but the reality is, like, go find people to give you money. Like, that aren't going to say, I need you to exit at $20 billion. Like, find people that believe in you to help you. And then eventually, you either pay back their money in the traditional form, i.e., you take disbursements from your business and pay them back. And that's what you do with most friends and family rounds. The one successful friends and family round I've gone through was paid back just from disbursements from the business. And I was on ramen for about 6 months doing that. But, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, what about like corporate bank, like business loans, small business loans?
Small business loans.
Where would that fall into, or not at all?
That's not in here. Right. SBA, any of that stuff, that's just going to be like, you start a business, you pay it back over time. It's like mortgaging a house.
Yeah.
So from that point, it's you need to have the same criteria that you would have going for a seed. But, yeah, you don't need to say that you're going to have a return. You just need to say, you give me this money, I'm going to pay it back. Like, they're not expecting you to give some crazy return. They're expecting 150% of whatever you pay over, generally those are like 2 to 5 years. But, yeah. So It's like this road is not the only road you need to go down. That's like a lot of what we focus on. But there are so many ways to start a business and run a business.
So in the family and friends round, similar to like what we were referring to in terms of equity, how does that look for that particular round? And then how does it look for angel investors? Angel investors, I'm assuming it's going to be like we said, the 20%, and then I have 83% less equity. Is that the same case with family and friends, or is it just more so negotiating with those individual people saying, hey, I'm going to return your money back with an 8% return or a 10% return, but you don't get any equity?
It's very much dependent on your friends and family.
Yeah.
If your friends and family are like my friends and family, they're going to be like, nah, I want equity. Or they will lend me the money, say, okay, pay me back in 2 years, but I'm taking 5% of your business for the pleasure of lending you this money. Plus, you're going to be paying me back plus interest. Yeah. The angel investing, every time you raise a round past friends and family, which is, again, a curveball, you don't know what's going to happen here. Anything past here, expect to lose 20, 25%, or give people 20, 25% of your business for every single round. If you can get away with 20, that's great. Sometimes you'll get especially in Series A and B, you'll lose 30. It'll be 30%. And also, if you're planning on going this route, if you're planning on going past here, give your employees 10% of your business. Yeah. I think I had one more question. Yep.
Is giving part of your business away what happens, period? Like, is that always what happens? You have to give part of your...
Well, think about you working for a company, right? If you go in and you're busting your ass every single day for a company, and you go out, you're getting paid $40,000 a year working for this company, and you have no equity in it, and your boss is constantly talking about like, man, we're going to go for this exit, why does that matter to you? It doesn't, right? But if you're getting paid that $40,000 a year, and your boss is sitting there going, we're going to go for $1 billion exit, and you're sitting there with 0.5% of that, are you thinking about the $40,000 a year you earn right now? No. You're thinking about what's the potential. So it's just a great way to incentivize your employees to give a crap about the future of your company. Like,
Was that her question, though?
no, it was, do you give it away? Or is it just a part of the business? No, in a general sense, it's only if you're doing funding rounds, really. Or if you want to give some to your employees as a thank you. But the reality is, for what you guys are doing, no. But also, you're not going to be ever exiting with a bunch of money, so it's, yeah.
Then the employees would work that much harder as well.
Exactly. It's a proven motivator. It's proven motivator. Yeah.
How do you calculate the percentage that you would want to give to either an independent contractor or an employee that
I wouldn't give an independent contractor.
What if they're working solely for equity right now?
I would say, okay, out of that 10%, I want to make sure that I reserve a certain percentage, so like 5% for any future employees. If that person has been 100% instrumental, think about the value they add to your business. If your business literally wouldn't exist without them, go outside the 10% and reward them for that. But do it with a 4-year vest. And I'm about to throw a big wrench in this. But a 4-year vest with a 1-year cliff, i.e. if they leave within 1 year, they get nothing. And
Would it be like based on milestones then?
you can do milestones. Milestones are a great way to have them. So like you can say, if we do a funding round, you get 5% more.
Milestones are good because if you just do time, then they could like literally just stick with it but not really contribute. So that's
Yeah.
a way to quantify their
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
But any funds you give away should be tied to a vest and a cliff. So does everybody know what I mean by that?
Notes that you're referring to?
Hmm?
Are those the notes you were referring to?
No, so a cliff would be if I gave you 100,000, and this is even if with your co-founders. So all three of you, you should all sign a thing that says you're giving a certain, I know, a certain percentage of your business, but if any of you leave within a year, you get nothing. If you leave after a year, at 1 year, you are given 25% of your options to purchase, or if you paid for it, you get your equity. And then after that, every single month, it goes in equal percentages to 100 of that equity after that. So that's what I mean by a 4-year vest, 1-year cliff. 25% of that is given to you every single year out to 4 years. And it just incentivizes people to stay with the company because it's like, otherwise, if you give somebody a ton of shares right up front, they could walk away the next day and be like, and 10 years from now you exit, or you go into one of these meetings and you have an anchor around your leg because they're like, why did this person get 25%? Saying, well, they left, so they got nothing, is actually a thing where they'll go, okay, you're savvy. And again, I need to put together a doc for all of this, and I'll send it out to you guys, because it's a lot. Yeah.
All right, great. Right, you don't have to worry about how you communicate. You just have to make sure that you say the words, right? If you have a great product, it sells itself, right? You have a great idea, it's going to sell itself, right? Yeah? So everybody agrees?
Yeah.
Wait, some of you saying yes, some of you saying no. Which is it? Who agrees? Connie, so you have a great product, that's what you need, right? And then that's what sells it, right? In some cases. Okay. What else do you need besides just having a great product?
You need people to see it.
You need people to see it. Great. How do people see it?
Marketing.
Marketing, advertising, what does that mean?
So they're catching someone's interest.
Capturing someone's interest. Excellent. Okay. So what do you guys, most of you guys, almost everyone in this room, what are you guys going to be doing on April 13th of this year?
Capturing someone's interest.
Capturing someone's interest. What do you think you guys need to do in order to do that well?
Communicate.
Get up in front of public speaking. Right. Get up in front of people and be compelling. No improvement at public speaking. Anybody? I wouldn't even say, I would never raise my hand for that either. In fact, I hope nobody on the planet raises their hand for that, because I think we as human beings always can improve and always can grow, because if we don't, that'd be super boring, right? It's kind of like, it's very easy to think hell doesn't make sense. I'm going to tell you something kind of crazy, but stick with me for a second. It's very obvious that someone torturing forever because they did bad things doesn't help anyone, right? We probably most agree that's a very barbaric concept. But have you ever thought about heaven? Let's think about that for a second, right? Let's think about heaven. Does that mean that you're blissed out for all of eternity? Hanging out with relatives? Never disease? Never anything? Your favorite sports team wins every time? Every project you try can't fail? Every person that you are attracted to is super attracted back? For all of eternity. You never, ever, ever can fail. You can never get sick. You can never, ever be disappointed. What do you think about that? Does that sound like heaven? Sounds pretty boring, right? So what is it that really gives us joy if it's not just always succeeding? The challenge to be able to grow, right? Isn't that fascinating? Isn't it interesting? There's a long time when I was a little kid and I thought, hell doesn't make sense, whatever, but I didn't think about heaven. I just kind of assumed, that, I'll get to hang out and always be successful and I'll get to be with my favorite people. That sounds awesome. That's awesome for about maybe 2 weeks. And then I'm like, now what, right? And then it makes sense, whoa, I can't wait to like maybe go somewhere and try out this type of experience or be this type of being and have these types of challenges. And doesn't that make sense, right? The same thing can be applied for public speaking, right? Here's your opportunity to talk about something that you're compelled to. But when we get up here, we can't just assume that the other person is going to be interested in what we have to say, right? And it's not just about being this polished speaker, right? Like, you know a car salesperson? They're like very well spoken, right? They're really confident, right? They're really loud. They have a lot of energy, right? Do you enjoy watching somebody like that? Hey, how are you? Guess what I'm going to do for all of you guys here? Guess what? You're going to love I know you, gentlemen. You over there. I can see you're interested in this. Is that compelling to watch? Well, I guess it can be kind of compelling to watch. You're right, it can be kind of entertaining. But then it gets old pretty quick, right? What is it lacking? Excellent. Excellent. So what is authenticity?
Telling the truth,
Being vulnerable. Being vulnerable, being relatable. You guys are exactly right. So what I want to do for you is give you some proven tools that I use to help people professionally, whether it's me doing professional acting, using psychology, neurolinguistic programming from professional conferences, and just getting up in front of people like you guys and actually talking to you. And so I'm going to teach you techniques like talking about provocative things like heaven and hell, for example, to try and make an interesting point, thinking about why you guys should care about what I'm talking about, and what I'm hoping is for you guys to actually have the opportunity to come up here and for yourself talk about something and feel that thrill of, whoa, I'm uncomfortable, but I'm going to go for it anyways. And you know why? Because guess what? You guys are going to have to do that on April 13th. And so I'm here to start that journey for you. Does that sound exciting? Okay, so first, what I would love is for Yvonne to please pass these out to people. And before you just start reading through them, I want you to just have them, and I'm going to read this with you. You are going to do some exercises. You're going to write things down. So if you need pens, let us know. If you have pens, take them out, okay? Very quickly, I'm going to go over some very basic foundations. One is posture, okay? So when we're up here, first of all, we own the space. What does that mean? When you guys get up here, and by the way, you guys are going to get up here today, even if it's for 1 minute, I want you to first own the space, meaning like give yourself permission that you are important and you have the right to be here. You have something of value to share. And if you don't think you have something of value to share, that's what you're going to figure out right now. Does that make sense? So in other words, I want you to feel like I would be excited if I were this audience to hear what I'm going to tell them in this 1 minute. Do you think that you're capable of doing that? Yeah? I hope so, because this is a product that you've been devoting like 5 months into so far, right? So hopefully you care enough about this product that you're excited to share something about it with these people. Does that make sense? So I want you to do whatever you can to get to that place, okay? So if everyone's looking now, I want you to fill out the first part, which is 3 communication strengths or skills: logical, sincere, funny, you're organized, you have a unique perspective, you're quirky and interesting to watch, whatever it is. Write down at least 3 things about yourself right now. Don't be modest and be really realistic. And you don't tell this to anyone, this is literally just for you. Write down 3 things. Oh, good, James, you're doing this too? I want to read yours. Okay. Does everyone understand that? You guys see where I am? I'm right here. These 3 things, that's where you're writing it down? Everyone did it? Okay. Do you notice I'm varying tempo and volume and pitch? Okay, good. Was this easy, guys, or is this difficult? A little bit difficult? Yeah. Yeah? You haven't thought about it quite like that before? Okay. Mind-blowing? James, I know you've thought about these things before. For most people, this is actually very difficult, and most people, unless there's someone who's given over 100 pitches, this is actually very unique experience that most people never do. And it's one of the most important things you can do. And I want to ask you a question about what we're doing right now. Do you think that doing this exercise right now, today, these things, only helps you with the pitch competition? No. I mean, this kind of stuff helps you with job interviews. It helps you with talking to friends. It helps you on dates. It helps you on any human interaction you have. So I just love sharing this stuff because I know the value of it. I know how much it's helped me in my own life, and it makes me super happy to share it with you guys. I actually love doing this stuff. That's me being vulnerable because it's true to you guys. So I get very excited. Okay, now the next thing. You guys all have 3 things. I want you to list 4 skills you would like to be known for, your avatar, your ideal self. I want you literally to picture the best version of yourself. Like if you can think of even like a role model, that you're like, that's who I want to be like, whether it's, whomever it is. It could be a politician that you really admire. It could be a leader. It could be an actor that you think you could eventually do or you aspire to do. I want you to write down those 4 qualities. Doesn't matter if you have them yet, but you possibly could get there. I can't wait to read yours, James.
These are private.
Except for James, they're not private. Is everyone done? A secret?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love secrets, especially good ones. So the 4 things that you just wrote down, you guys are capable of doing, or else you literally wouldn't have chosen them. It's like a psychological thing. So what you just wrote down is you at your best. You would not be able to write that down right now if you're doing it sincerely. Okay, so you are able to do that. And that's the key of that exercise. It's like an empowerment exercise. And so when you get up here and do your 1-minute pitch, I want you to try your best to just embody those things that you wrote down, both the 3 things that you already own and the 4 things that you aspire to. Does that sound good? And I don't care if you screw up. I don't care if you stutter. I don't care if you freeze. All I care about is you get up here and you just own it. And you know what's going to really help you with that? Is to take, it's called cognitive reframing, the focus off of yourself and put it onto the people you're speaking to. And so how you're going to do that is you're going to think about, who am I speaking to and why would they care what I have to say? So right now I'm thinking I'm speaking to really smart, motivated students in a program that I'm running with my 2 incredible colleagues. And they care about this because this is something that's useful in almost every aspect of life. They also care about it because they have a pitch competition coming up and everyone can improve on their presentation skills. And I'm excited to share about it. Right? And so that's what I'm thinking about you guys. And so I don't have to worry about how am I standing or how does my voice sound or whatever, because what I'm so focused on, guess what I'm focused on instead of myself? I'm focused at are you getting it? Are you getting it? You seem like you're getting it. Okay, cool. And that makes me much less self-conscious, and it makes me much able to serve you guys. It makes you able to be more of your authentic self. When you see someone who's doing the used car salesman thing, right, who's and then like that, he's kind of looking over you, that's a person who's not doing that, who's not focused okay, are you getting it? They're focused on, am I sounding impressive? Is my voice coming off powerful? Is my posture good, right? So they might be really polished, but all of us can kind of sense that inauthenticity. Do you know what I'm saying? They can kind of sense like you don't really care about me.
But what if I get nervous in front of people?
If you get nervous in front of people, that's great and that's natural, and it's about channeling that. You want to know a really cool trick? This has actually been shown. Simon Sinek talks about this. Olympic athletes, do you know what they say? Like, Olympic athletes train for 4 years. It's their entire lives. They're being televised in front of like 1 billion people. Like the world is watching them, and they have like this like minute or whatever opportunity to get it right. And every time an interviewer asks them, 99% of them, they say, were you nervous? And they say, no, I wasn't nervous. I was, you've heard this, excited. How the hell is that possible? Of course they're nervous. They're human beings, right? Everyone would be nervous. You make one mistake, like that's it. All that training, all that effort in front of the world. Of course they're nervous. But how do they frame it? They frame it as excited, but how is that possible? How can they frame it as excitement?
Because it's the same chemical.
It's the same chemicals going around in your body. And that's a real thing. That's a real technique. So when you guys can even do that right now, starting right today, and by the way, don't worry, it doesn't like magically work. It takes like time to like do it. But if you guys right now, before you get up, say to yourself, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. I'm not nervous, I'm excited. Even though you don't believe it, even though it's silly, it still works a little bit. I'm not joking. I can't wait for you guys to try it. So when you're nervous about something, be like, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. That's why my heart's accelerating right now. That's why I'm kind of like shaking. That's why I'm leaning like this. Right, James? I'm not nervous, I'm excited. Yeah.
Have you ever gone blank in front of like a crowd?
Absolutely. Not only that, I went blank on my line when I was performing an off-Broadway show where each people paid around around $70 or $80 per person, 500 people, 500-seat house. I'm up there, it was opening night, and I literally was pretty stressed out because there's this like really difficult scene. And there was one point when I literally was like, what's my next line, right? And so I just felt my heart drop, and then I just thought, all right, just keep going. Whatever you do, just keep going. And I somehow, something just came out of my mouth, and it just and then the other person picked up the line, so I said something that was connected to. So I think the line was something like, you can't do that. And then they responded like, oh, yes, I can. And so instead I said, I still knew my intention. Does that make sense? So I knew what my character's intention was, even though because I was so stressed out and I felt so much pressure, I couldn't remember the exact line. So what I did was I'm going to say whatever is in line with my intention, right? And so I said, instead of you can't do that, I said, stop that. And then the other person said the response, which still made sense to that, and that triggered me back into the thing. Does that make sense? That was one of the most stressful things, but I got through it. There was another time when I was on a movie set, and they literally were like, okay, you have to memorize all of these lines, but we're only using film. We're using 32 millimeter instead of digital. Do you guys know what that means?
Yeah.
Okay, 32. Do you know how expensive film is? Yeah. And this is a graduate student film. And I don't know, they must have had super rich parents. They rented out half of a hotel, and they had the whole thing catered, and they had about 100 people and I got cast as a late ad, to play the lead role of this guy in a boardroom who is this crazy film. And then they're like, okay, Carl, you can't mess up once. So you can rehearse as many times as you want, but you have to do everything right. And I literally had to have a choreographed thing. And so it was so stressful. And so what I did was I had to memorize, they had the lines written on the thing, because obviously you can't memorize, it was like monologue after monologue of stuff, all in 2 hours, at least, unless you have, I don't have photographic memory, I couldn't do that. But I had to memorize, I had to put a cue card there, a cue card here, one here, and I had to memorize the sequence, and then to know the lines enough to do it. And I used breathing techniques, and so that's another thing. When you're stressed out, guys, breathe. Because a lot of times you're shallow breathing when you're nervous. Does that make sense? Right now, everybody just for a second, I want you to literally pay attention to how you're breathing. How are you breathing? Are you breathing in your stomach or are you breathing up here? I was just breathing up here. How's it feel to suddenly drop down and like breathe lower? Doesn't that feel good? That feels really good. Yeah, so that's something that you can do when you get up on stage. It's something that I want you guys to do when you get up here. Have a little bit of a width of your stance, open body. A lot of you guys, when you guys are doing your pitch, what are you doing with your body? What signal is this saying? Yeah, I'm nervous, and even on a primal level, I need to protect myself. I'm making myself small so that I can defend myself. And it also signals to the audience, I don't have something valuable, even though you could have the most valuable thing in the world to tell them. So when we make ourselves expanded, right, that signals to people, I'm owning the space, I believe in what I'm saying. Now, we don't do it exaggerated like this. That being said, let's all stand up right now and do this pose. I want you to think that you're like your favorite super person, right? And then what do we do when we just nailed something? Like when we just totally like won the prize, when we got something we always wanted. What do you do? Yes! Right? What do you do? What is the universal thing? What do you do, right? Just do it. Do what you do. Whatever you do it. Make a noise. It's yeah! 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 Yes! Woo! All right. How's that feel? How's it feel? It feels good, right? Let's go back to this. Do you guys know just by doing this for 20 seconds, you are lowering the stress hormones and you are increasing testosterone so that you can feel confident, you can feel energized? This is a legit technique that you guys can do before you go on. You want to know something else that relaxes you naturally? If you guys yawn, do a big yawn right now. Taking that rich oxygen. It feels good, right? I bet you guys feel pretty good right now, right? Feeling pretty good? I invite you to sit down. Okay. I'm going to get through this real quick so that you guys have a chance. So this is what you're going to do. You're going to have 1 minute to talk about your product. And here are the things that you're going to think about, okay? We're going to look at the third page. And do you see where in bold, it's in all caps, it says write and practice your 1 minute speech pitch? Yeah? This is me condensing my 9-hour intensive into 20 minutes or whatever. You want to start out with an attention grabber, like the heaven-hell analogy, right? You want to start out with a key message, which is communication teaching this skill is important in multiple avenues in life. You want to think about supporting points where you bring out different examples and stuff like that. And then you want to reiterate your key message and close. So when you close, I want you guys to think about if people forget everything you said, but they remember one thing, what do you want that to be? Does that make sense? So you start out with something that gets people's attention. It doesn't have to be shocking, but just something interesting. It could be a story. It could be if you're selling a product like, I always wanted a sustainable thing, but it never happened until one time this happened, right? I don't know, I'm making something up, but I was at the gym and I always wished, that I could also have a social circle. I wished I could combine those things, especially being an artist. I never thought it would take off, but then I found this out. Ooh, you got my attention. I'm into that stuff. Here are some points about that thing. And then finally, here's the thing, if you don't remember anything else that I want you to remember. That's how you close it. Does that make sense? So right now, I want all of you guys picturing that ideal self of yours, using those 3 skills that you have, and then doing your best to embody those 4 elements, whether it's you want to be Barack Obama or Tony Robbins or whoever the heck you want to be, right? I want you to embody those things, or James McArthur, he's one of my heroes. So, whoever you want to be, I want you to come up here, say something that gets our attention, And hopefully that's something, knowing us, so something that you know that we would care about. Who are we? We're Pratt undergrad and graduate students, so something specific to us that will like get our attention. Then I want you to say 3 key things about what you're talking about, and then I want you to close really strong with the biggest takeaway of all. Does that sound good? You think you can do it?
Yeah.
Yeah! All right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to just figure that out. You're not going to use, you can glance at your notes, but you're not going to read like this off of them, okay? You're going to do your best to just, and if you mess up, whatever, you can always think about the time that Carl blanked on stage and said the wrong line but got through it, and that's okay. Okay? Yes, questions? Or you can pick, since we have lack of time, does anyone have to take off exactly at 3? Yeah? So you can go first, okay? Then what do you guys think? Do you all want to try this? Or do you want, yeah? Okay. Whoever wants to try it can do it. If for whatever reason you feel super uncomfortable, then it's okay. I'm not going to force you now, but this is a skill that you're going to need to have to develop, and you're going to have to come in and work with James, Yvonne, and I at some point to develop this. You might as well do it now when you're here, and you have us to work with you, okay? Okay, great. And guys, you're not nervous, you're
Excited.
That's right.
Welcome to Wandering Aid. Life scares me, especially this past week. I'm literally broke and I don't have money for food or art supplies. And I went to a food resource on Wandering Aid to get eggs for my art and feed me.
Yeah, so this is basically the idea is that we all have needs sometimes, and we don't necessarily know to expect them. Sometimes, you know, you might not be in need. You might have people to support you, or you may have a great job. You could lose it tomorrow. It could change. It could change without expecting. And so
we're supporting not only people that need help, but we're also supporting organizations that are trying to give help. We have sponsorships where we have an icon on the map. We also do consulting because we have 6 qualifications for true aid that I came up with when I was in a refugee camp. Seeing people trying to help in the worst of conditions, and it wasn't working. Our 6 qualifications are
sustainability, accessibility, inclusivity.
for everyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Excellent job, guys. That was really great. And I love the way you just went for it. And you did an impulse, you did the thing. I mean, it made me suddenly engaged. I loved your energy. Did it feel good?
It felt great.
Yeah, see, that it feels good. Just give yourself permission to just go for it. I'm also going to be timing these guys. So how does it feel? So it's 1 minute. So when you have 10 seconds left, I'm going to go like this. And so that's your signal to, like, you better drop your closing statement. Your statement about if they remember anything, this is what I want them to remember, okay? All right, so everyone's going to go, so...
Wait, so, is this 1% of each group, or is it every...
Whatever you want.
Because we thought this was individual, so we did...
Then do it individual, that's great. Let's do it.
Mine doesn't even go into the...
Yeah.
You're not nervous?
I'm excited.
You're excited. You're excited. Let me see how excited you are. All right, you got this. You got this.
So, as art students, we always wonder, why do we have to take math and science courses? Why do we have to learn about history and also language? Well, I'm here to tell you that interdisciplinary knowledge is essential to the future of art and design, and it makes us more informed and equipped to deal with the world's future problems, and also increases our understanding of where other people in this world are coming from. For example, in industrial design, where everything is getting increasingly specialized, for example, in medical devices, knowing background knowledge on, for example, how a hemodialysis device works would be able to inform your design process and make your design more intuitive and more efficient. And that would allow for a better product to be developed eventually. So that is why I believe that interdisciplinary knowledge is essential to design education.
Excellent. That was fantastic. And you know what I love is I'm seeing you guys more animated than I've ever seen you. So it's really great. You guys are really owning it. That was fantastic. How did it feel? Yeah, you're excited. All right, and if you do less than that's great than a minute, then that's awesome. Okay, next, let's go. Let's bang these out. Everyone's going, so just get up there. And I like how supportive the room is too. It's cool.
I'm gonna delay. I'm not gonna do that today. I'm just gonna do it tomorrow. It's okay. The homework is due next week either way. You know what? Even for art history too, I'm not gonna do it today. It's going to do next week. You know, I'm just gonna do it the Sunday before. It's gonna be fine. That's what I think to myself every single day when my teacher, my professors give me homework. But you know what? Procrastination is actually a huge problem. Every time you procrastinate is more time you waste not doing productive things. By doing that, you're wasting your own time and you will not be able to focus on what really matters in front of you. What you need to do is to set up your own priorities straight, and by doing that, you'll become a better and efficiently, and you won't be mad or you won't get stressed about it later on. Procrastinate makes you feel very stressed about school. So, in the end, all of you should not procrastinate and focus on doing it.
Excellent. Fantastic. You guys are killing it. Next.
Has anyone ever faced this question, maybe like in high school, and someone comes and asks you, like, what do you want to do with your life? And you like think about it, and then you're like, oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and you're like super uncertain and confused, and you're trying to figure it out. And I think I went through that for like a really, really long time, even though I knew I wanted to become like an artist or come into the art field. I didn't know what to do after that, and I was super confused. And then I thought that I should just like go for it, and I came here, and I feel that everything happens for a reason, and everything kind of everything works out at the end in a certain way that will help you at the end if you like be focused and like try to do your best and like keep going.
Great. Excellent.
Hi, I'm Min Sun and I'm from Korea. And I know how many of you are you international students? See, everyone is from outside from their home. And I know that everyone from outside, like living outside of your home is not easy. And we want to help this. So what we do is we'll give you an opportunity to share your stories. Through the stories, we'll pick your stories and give you an accessory, a jewelry that you can carry on and feel your home through it, and also share your culture that you brought to here to the people that you meet. So through our business, you can share your cultural stories, and also you can cope your homelessness with our friends.
Yeah, and also you'll have opportunity to participate in our design, creating your jewelry, like in our design process. So it's going to be amazing experience for you as well.
So if you want to be the person who wants to get the jewelry, you can get the jewelry at the same time buying someone else's full story.
Great. Excellent, guys. Nice job. All right. Who's excited, not nervous to go next?
Hi guys, I'm going to talk to you today about healthcare. And if you're thinking boring, you're not alone. And one of the reasons it is boring, it's something I always question as well, like why is it something that's so vital to our livelihood boring? Because it's difficult to navigate. It's not designed for us, it's not designed for our life. And so what we do is we're creating on-demand primary care that is centered around your life, your schedule, and your needs. And we do this through a combination of home visits and virtual visits. So imagine if you had a platform that you could go to with any healthcare questions. You could book a video consultation with a doctor. You can book prescriptions. You can also schedule someone to come to you. So basically what we're doing is redesigning the healthcare experience to be centered around your life and your needs.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Hi I have trouble speaking up my mind and then just telling my stories to people. And luckily, I have made some extrovert friends, and with them, I will be able to go to different events and different activities and observing how they interact with people and to learn those skills. And luckily for people who doesn't have extrovert friends and who are also introverts, there's a program for you. And this program is a mentorship program where you can choose setting goals with your mentor who is an extrovert or who just simply want to help you with public speaking or helping you to help with your improvement on your social skills. And after the goal setting, you went to the social events of your choice with your mentor. And after the session, you'll be able to provide feedback to your mentor and evaluate how your goal has been met and what's your progress throughout the entire journey with your mentor. And yeah, so there's a program there for you, and you know, it's free and it's cheap. It's free, and you'll be able to.
That's your closing point.
Yes.
Great job. That was fantastic. That was great. Okay, who's next? I love the way you guys are hitting your end points too. It's really good.
You make amazing art because we're at Pratt, correct? Do you ever feel like you're the only one who cares about the art that you're making, and the only one that feels like it's important? To be successful artists, your art isn't the problem. You need a following, and a lot of us don't have the following we need to be successful. But what if there was an app tailored to creating posting content for artists and creative people that tailored to your aesthetic and your individual needs for musicians or artists, including 2019 ideas and stuff. Yeah, sorry.
What's your closing point? You're doing great. You're excited. If we remember one thing from what you're saying, what should we remember?
Making like visual content with a sprinkled personality from your message that you're trying to say, I guess.
Okay, so tell us that like it's super important and we really benefit from knowing it.
Okay, whether it be a music video, interview, or just for fun, make posting content that has a strong message rather than just being a regular visual.
All right, good job. Way to own it. Remember, you are that 4 points that you want to be. You are that. You are doing that right now.
Okay. Can I get everyone to think about an activity they love to do for 3 seconds? What's one activity you love to do?
Freestyle ski.
Would you like to be able to do that longer and more often?
Absolutely.
So what I want to do is I want to allow surfers to do what they love longer. And so I'm creating this thing that's surf hydration belt. So this will allow surfers to surf longer because they'll be more hydrated and be able to do what they love longer. So whether it's for skiing or for surfing, what I'm hoping to do is allow people to do what they love longer.
Awesome, great. Another thing I want to point out, if you guys ask a question, which I love, it's a great technique. Don't just ask the question and then immediately move on. If you're going to ask a question, you have to actually see if someone's going to answer it. Does that make sense? So if any of you
did that really well.
Huh?
I thought he did that really well.
I thought you did that really well. And also what I noticed is you then took the answer to your question and incorporated it into the end statement, whether it's surfing or skiing. Yeah. So you personalize it to the guy who answered. So that was like advanced level, public speaking right there. You're a quick study, man. But does that make sense? So if I ask you guys, who here thinks they can benefit from public speaking? Yeah? Okay, you guys think so? Okay, great. That's very different than if I say, who here thinks they can benefit from public speaking? Public speaking is something that's very, right? But that's the tendency when we're nervous, right? So if you guys ask a question, use the pause, right? Use the pause.
Also, one thing that every single person here should do before they start talking. The moment before, take a full breath through your nose, breathe out through your mouth.
And own the space.
Just do that.
Swallow.
Focus on the air coming into your nose and forcing it out of your mouth.
And also, I'm going to tell you something that really works. Look at these people and think, you're my friend. You're on my side. I'm on your side. I can't wait to share this with you. You guys are the best. I love you guys.
And to be honest, generally that's true because that's why they're your audience. They came to hear you for a reason.
Yep. Yeah. All right, who's next? Who's excited? Yeah?
These two are.
Let's do it. Come on. Get up here. You guys are doing awesome, by the way, every one of you.
Hi everyone, we are undergraduate students at Pratt. My name is Dee. I'm Ya. And I believe that every one of us care about the environment we are living in. It's just sometimes it will be troublesome to do good to our environment. I'm wondering if now we are offering this option, which you don't need to put extra effort. Well, you can still make a small contribution to our Earth. Are you willing to do it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. So now we're introducing WeBag, a well-designed reusable fabric shopping bag that can replace the one-time shopping bags found in box stores. And however, we're selling is not just a bag, but a systematic service that includes designing, manufacturing, distribution, and recycling of the bag.
So it actually has three benefits. First of all, to the environment, it's really sustainable and eco-friendly. Second, to the company, it saves a lot of money and efforts to constantly buy new bags, and it also improves the company's eco-friendly image. And last one, for the customers, they will never need to remember bring their own bags. It's just do a little efforts when they're like going to work, going to the subway station, and return the bag to the recycle system.
Clothing statement. That's your clothing statement?
No.
Okay, clothing statement.
It actually costs nothing for you to try, but you will never regret.
Excellent. I like that. That's like a tagline. I like that. Okay. You guys ready?
So, as a president, have you ever thinking of selling your artwork or design? Or have you ever make a lot of product for your project, but at the end you don't know how to deal with it? Like, should you throw it away, or is it a way that you can earn some money, extra money? So here.
Wait. Ask that question, then see if they answer it.
Yeah. So so our website is a great platform for you. You can just simply upload your design, and we will help with the manufacturing and logistics. So come to us, upload a design, earn some extra money, and get your work noticed.
Great. Good job.
Well, we're on the same team.
Cool. Great. Yeah, you get the practice. You deserve it.
So who here think they're creative? Who here think that they need to promote their creativity and get people noticed?
Oh yeah.
That's great. So we are actually establishing a website for creative people who have trouble looking for a platform to promote their creativity and also earn some extra money because who doesn't want to? So we are actually launching this website that help Pratt students to upload their work and also set up relationships. And if you also are a lover, you can also use this website to find niche design that help you to establish your self-identity. So just remember, we help you to start a creativity.
Great. Very nice. Excellent. Own the space, own the space.
Own the space. How many of you guys love yourself? Self-love is super important because we're all millennials and Gen X, and that's something that's really important to us. How many of you guys love the earth? Like trees out here. Everyone loves trees. How many people love other people, humans? They want us. Okay, so what if I told you that there was a site where you're able to shop online for clothing, because we all have to wear clothing, but it's also designed so that it's taking care of yourself, your identity, your body, your spirit, but also the people that are making it, and also the trees outside. Would you guys be down for that?
Heck yeah.
Awesome. That's it.
All right, nice.
I probably should have introduced Tayo.
I just want to know what's the takeaway? What's the takeaway? If we forget everything you said but one thing, what do you want us to remember?
We have a site designed to love everyone involved, including yourself. So yeah.
Named
online called Tayo. I should have said that.
Say it one more time.
Okay. We have a site called Tayo where you're able to shop online and free peace of mind, where you're loving yourself and your identity, but you also know that the people making it are being taken care of, and so is the earth.
Great. And then the one thing I would add to that is you want the name of your company to be at the end, right? So you're like, so to conclude, if you want a company where it takes care of yourself, it takes care of your loved ones, and you can feel really great about it, your company is Tayo. Right? You know, we can say it like less salesy, but Tayo. You know? All right. Cool. Who's excited? Who's not nervous? Excited? You're excited? Good. Yeah. I'm excited too.
So how many of you guys like Bollywood music? How many of you like Indian food?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So what if you got a Bollywood dance class followed by Indian food? Would you be excited?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what we have to offer. We're the Haven Culture Community Sports. We bring to you sporting activities, a lot of clubs, art, culture, all packed in one place. Growing up, I used to play basketball and I used to always crib that why can't the coach let us hang out on the court afterwards? I'm like, can we please all just be together as a team and have fun? He never let us do that. That's what the Haven is for. You hang out with your crew later, admire art, watch a movie, watch a match, get a beer. So whoever you are, a beer enthusiast, a sports person, a dance person, you want to put a Bollywood twist in your body, come to the Haven, we have something for you.
All right, that was great. That's good. You're not nervous?
That's a tough comment.
That's hard to follow, yeah. All right.
All right, I believe that culture is what cultivates community. I think what brings people together are the things that they're most passionate about, but I also think that those things can be integrated and communicated to other people to bring other people into their world. So that's what we're going to do with the Haven. So the Haven is a platform, it's an environment that allows people to embrace what they're most passionate about, but to also be introduced to different worlds. So speaking to what she spoke to earlier, so we have a person that's enthused by art, a person that's enthused by sports, and a person that may be enthused by music. They come to this center place that allows them to integrate with this different individuals in an environment that is embracing and welcoming to both creatives, to all those creative industries in one.
Your takeaway. If we remember anything.
So if I could have you guys remember anything, is that I think that culture is what drives all of community. And yes.
What do you want us to do? By telling us this, what do you want us to remember? What's your product? The name and what you want us to remember about the product.
So the Haven is an environment that allows artists, athletes, these people from different industries to feel comfortable under one umbrella and to be introduced into the different worlds.
Great. Excellent. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? So the closing is, so if you care about what I just said for the last minute, go to this website, www.thehaven.com, and sign up. I'd love to see you there. You know, I'm just kidding. Like, you don't do that, but, you know, I just like doing that. But does that make sense? You know, something like that, or like, so that's the thing. That's what we're talking about. And also, I loved your vulnerability. Do you guys know what I mean by vulnerability? I could tell that you actually really were excited about what you're talking about. I felt it, and that's beautiful. I think you guys have been beautiful up here, and I literally mean that. It's beautiful to see authenticity, not just like this nervousness. You guys are glowing up there. Even if you're like not doing it smooth, you're doing it awesome. Our final one.
Yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so Swati over here is big on going to the gym. So every day she's like, Sush, do you want to come to the gym? Do you want to come to the gym? And I am like on the other end of the spectrum. I'm super lazy, but that's only going to the gym. I find going to the gym super monotonous and blah, blah, blah. But rather, I'd go play basketball, which they're equally interested in. So what we're trying to cater over here is having a space for gym, for all the gym enthusiasts, but also space for basketball players, playing chess, and all the other activities like Bollywood songs and all of that. So that is what we're trying to cater over here. And one thing that the three of us really believe in is the experience is equally as important as the end product. So that's what I believe, and the two of us believe in.
Great. All right. Hey, every single one of you just got up and were vulnerable and amazing and courageous. What you just did is human beings' #1 fear. So I hope all of you actually are super proud of yourselves because you just killed it. I'm super proud of you. And what is the homework, James, for these guys? That's the final thing. Because we have one session, you're almost there, and then the pitch, and then you guys finish the program, you're graduates of this program, you get your certificate. It's exciting.
All right, next time you are all pitching, and we are going to do 3 minutes this time. I'm not messing around. 3 minutes with PowerPoints, overview, everything. So like, it is a prep for the final pitch.
And I'll send out a template of the ideal setup for what your
Yeah.
should look like.
And
Yeah.
it has to have the finances as well.
We would like
Some okay.
And it doesn't have to be the finished product,
Right.
so even if you just write on it some very basic stuff.
But then a couple seconds of the finances so we know how it goes.
Yeah, keep in mind, we have a month until the next one, and then we have 14 days after that.
Right, so you still have time.
And the next one is going to be Peter, Carl, myself, Navon. We are going to be your pitch judges. And we are going to treat it like the final pitch competition. So, it's going to be an opportunity for you to go through the entire thing. We're also going to overview kind of a lot of what we talked about. So, we will send you out all those documents that I showed you on here. We'll go through all of that. Next time, I will also dive into some more of the financing stuff because everybody seemed interested in that, if not a little freaked out. But we can dive into some of that stuff as well.
And so guys, what that means is use this, everyone has this sheet that I handed out. Use that when you're practicing the pitch, So if you guys felt that you improved, and I hope you guys realized how much you guys improved just from working on that for 10 minutes on the spot, imagine what you guys can do if you have a month using those skills to actually work on this. The one thing we're going to ask is to actually time it. So you guys should really time it to 3 minutes, okay? So if you guys are halfway through and 3 minutes goes up, that's not good. So you want to be able to time it for 3 minutes.
Also, if you have a prototype, bring it in. If you have a product, bring a prototype.
Now, the good news is you have over a month to do this. It's something you're passionate about, and what an awesome experience it is for you to learn how to do this. What an incredible skill that goes into almost every facet. So looking forward to seeing you on the 30th, guys. Reach out to us if you need anything, and be on the lookout. Yvonne and I and James will be sending you stuff to help you out. All right, see you guys.